Okay, here's a journal that I made for a one-on-one swap with Leigh Pogue. We decided, well, we just kind of are doing our own thing. I don't really know what she did to mine, but I told her that I wanted to do vintage ephemera for hers, and she was excited about that. So this book I got at a flea market for either $1 or $2, and I've seen other people using this book, including Beth Wallen did a video, and I just wanted to give Beth a shout out in this video because I was very inspired by another book that she did in a swap, and it was vintage ephemera also. So I was very inspired with how she used her vintage ephemera, and I used some of her ideas. So thank you so much, Beth, for the inspiration. I have 3 signatures here and a charm that I made. I want to hurry through this. I tried it once and went too long. This is a doily that I cut from a larger piece, and a piece of metal flowers that someone sent me. I can't remember who, but thank you. This spoon handle is the closure with a piece of seam binding. I used some pages from this magazine about old-time songs and poems, and it was published in 1976, and it looks pretty vintage, so I Mod Podged a piece to the front and to the back and glued some trim down here. Here's the first signature. This is the front page from this book, and I stuck it on as a flap so she can see the copyright information, 1901. This I got from a flea market, and it was a little vintage sketchbook with just a few pages in it. So there's one of the pages, and then I stamped that on a piece of scrap of computation paper. A rub-on from Tim Holtz. This is graphic 45, and there's a crochet trim there. This is a vintage coupon from Betty Crocker that I put some coffee dyed paper on the back for journaling. This is one of the tags that I made. If you saw a recent video that I just posted, you'll see coffee dyed fake vintage ephemera that I made with scraps. And you'll see a lot of that in this book. This is from, excuse me for coughing, I have a frog in my throat today, from the Current catalog, and this is probably from the 1970s, maybe the 80s. I used to get things from Current, and I'm familiar with some of the art and just the look of their product. And so this is brighter than I would want in a vintage book, but there it is. I used to actually buy their recipe cards. I loved the pretty ones. Okay, here's vintage railway company ledger paper. This is one of the pieces that I made with file folder, punch, inked, stamped. This is from Tsunami Rose, from one of her packs of ephemera cutouts that you can get. And this is a cutout piece from Scrapbook Line, and that's a stamp. There's a brown bag that I copy dyed, glued those trims on. Here's a piece of the computation book that I stamped and edged. Did I put it up? Oh, here it is. It goes this way. Odds and ends, and I love lists. And then this is, these are vintage cards. This is glued on. This is glued on as a pocket, and then this one was a set of jokes and riddle cards, and that just tucks in there. It's a page from the book. I used Tim Holtz letters from his papers to spell out Leigh's name. And this is a heavy piece of card that I have a set of them. Here's one. I got a set of these. They were free from my church. Was getting rid of a bunch of stuff, and I found these, and they have these metal rings on the tabs. So I cut one of them, sorry, and used this idea from Beth with this kind of a loop on it through the hole, and put some charms on it, inked around the edges. This is some pieces that were stitched together This is stamped on tissue paper, and it's folded. And then these are some things that I stamped. Tim Holtz photos and a little tag. And then this is a index card, copy dyed, corner punched, and stamped. Vintage railroad ledger paper, copy dyed paper. This is a time card that our church secretary actually used. It's more pulpy paper than the ones that you get at Staples. She wrote in pencil on it, so I erased her name, copy dyed it, sticky back trim there. And this is a vintage card, got at a flea market, and you can open it right up, and there's lots of journaling there. Copy dyed music paper here, and I realized that this is supposed to be glued together to form a pocket. It's the middle of the signature, so I will do that, and then include another piece of ephemera in there. This is Tsunami Rose and a stamp. More vintage cards. I stitched them together and stitched them on here. This is a tag. I glued vintage typing text pages onto the front and back of that, and then some vintage railway company papers. Some washi tape, page out of the book. This is Tim Holtz paper here, and there's a copy dyed muslin strip that I tied into a bow, put on a little tiny paper clip and a tag, and then included these two stamped pieces in here. This is the other side of the bag with this eyelet trim, another children's card, and a stamped piece. And then I made a tag out of an illustration from the book and glued paper to the back for journaling. This is another piece of file folder that I inked around the edge and stamped. A couple of, this is from Graphic 45, and this is from Tsunami Rose, and this is an old photo that Lori Jagadish sent in this, with the swap that we did. This is another card from Current. Found that at a flea market, and that's the first signature. Here's some the computation paper, and copy dyed and corner punched index card, and a postcard from Pennsylvania, Athens, Pennsylvania, where I live. So greetings from Athens, Leigh. S&H green stamps, banners, the vintage composition book page. This is a card. You may have seen this in a flea market haul that I did, but I inked around the edges and stamped on it. And copy dyed and inked index card and a photo. I have these old photos, but they're on cabinet cards, so they're very thick and heavy. And so I made a copy of it, and then I also made a copy of the back because of that beautiful aged color, and then glued the two pieces together. This is a bag that Lori also sent me. There's an index card in there and a postcard stamped on parchment paper. Vintage songbook, another illustration from the book on the other side of the computation page. This is an idea from Girl on a Ridge, and it's pieces of book page torn, inked, and collaged together, stitched there. And this is a piece that Jill sent me in a swap, and she also sent me this ticket, and I inked around the edges on that. This is from Tsunami Rose, and a Tim Holtz photo. There's a little piece of seam binding there. Some stamped pieces inside. This is a printout. This is a vintage card I found at a flea market. Also can be opened up and journaled on. And this is the vintage envelope that it came with. Tsunami Rose, scrap that's stamped on, library pocket that's copy dyed, and two library tags, and I stamped on all of that. Tissue paper. This is an old planner book page. Coffee dyed time card There's another of those coupons, and this time I did not put journaling paper on the back so she can see what the back looks like. If she wants to add the paper, she can. This is a Tsunami Rose, and this is a box top, an old box top from Betty Crocker. It was in the packet along with these spoon coupons. And there's a piece of Tsunami Rose ephemera in there. This is stapled on. This is something I stamped. This is a piece from the Vintage typing textbook. There's some lace at the top and bottom. This is a piece that I stamped. And this one I stamped also. Rub-ons. Third signature. This is a tag I made from manila cardstock, manila file folder, and stamped on it, coffee dyed it. And there are a couple of index cards here that are coffee dyed, Leigh, but I will stamp on them before I mail this out to you. That's a stamp. Washi tape here. Glassine bag with some of my homemade pieces. There's a tag that I made. Has a spinner on it. This is a rub-on clock from Tim Holtz. And the spinner is from Stampin' Up, and that's a rub-on. This is vintage notebook paper. The vintage railway ledger book scrap there. This is stamped on the computation paper. A couple of pieces that I made. And this one I did remember to glue together. And there's a vintage card inside, which also opens up to be journaled on. I love that picture. And here's the other piece of this folder that I cut up, and I used the P for Pogue and put some green stamps on it. Tucked a few of my homemade things there. There's another tag. This has a piece of my stamped pieces in it. This has a little tiny safety pin and a little charm and a piece of lace dangling from it. That idea was from Beth Wallen. And then I glued this little glassine bag here, put a little tag that I stamped on and a little ticket. Glued these chipboard pieces down. This is a piece that I made, both of these, and I just stitched them down there. And then on the back there's a library pocket. It was all marked up, so I covered it and put some rub-ons on it and a coffee dyed library card. And then this is from a very, very fragile book page. I mean, it was crumbly, so I Mod Podged it to a piece of cardstock. And there it is. This is the book. I will post this after Leigh gets it, so she won't see it before she gets the package in the mail. And I thank you all for watching. Thanks for the swap, Leigh. Bye.